Hey guys, Sam here, and welcome to another review. And yes, I know the limitations of being in just this dorm, and especially with this colorless wall right behind me. Yeah, the limitations in college right now are definitely like I wish I could get more stuff out, but I can't right now. I just gotta work with what I have. But I'm just letting you guys know that I'm still gonna try and upload as many videos as I can, despite everything that's going on. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Today, I'm going to take a look at an episode from a show that I'm sure every cartoon reviewer has discussed about at some point. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm sure every one of us has talked about either an episode from the show or the entire show as a whole. And honestly, can you blame us? It's a great show. But there is one specific episode that I do want to talk about. No, it's not The Storm. No, it's not a Zuko-centered episode. It's actually an episode that spawned a lot of memes and so many out-of-context moments, yet no one really talks about the entire episode. And it is called The Fortuneteller. It's the 14th episode of the first season, and despite it having a pretty solid rating on IMDb, it's one of the lowest rated episodes out of all the others in the show. So if you guys are new to this channel, what I'm going to do is just quickly go through the story and then give you guys my final thoughts. So, here we go. After we start off with a Katang moment, the gang comes across a man being attacked by a platypus bear. They manage to drive it off, but the guy doesn't miss a beat. Turns out he was that calm because he was told that he would have a safe journey. And that prediction was given to him by his town's fortune teller, Aunt Wu. Yes, I know I said Aunt. I know there's people that call her Aunt Wu, but for me I say Aunt. Every aunt that I've ever had, I've always called them Aunt and not Aunt. That's just how I say it. Just how I picked it. Okay, let's not get distracted with that. So the gang heads into town and meets her in person, and each of them has their own reactions to her. Katara's fascinated with the fortune telling, so much so that she keeps asking numerous questions to Aunt Wu to the point where she annoys her. Sokka firmly believes that fortune telling is just complete nonsense, and Aang is somewhere in the middle, but the only thing about his future he wants to know about is his love life. And afterwards, each of them have their own little side stories. Katara constantly pestering Aunt Wu for more fortunes, Sokka trying and failing to convince the townspeople that Aunt Wu is crazy, and Aang trying his very best to impress Katara, while at the same time being crushed on by another girl named Mang, who is the assistant to Aunt Wu. But then there's trouble. Earlier in the episode, Aunt Wu made a prediction that the volcano near the town will not destroy it based on reading the clouds. So when Aang goes to get a panda lily flower for Katara at the top of the volcano with Sokka, they find out that the volcano is about to erupt, meaning that Aunt Wu was wrong. So they go back to town to tell everyone that Aunt Wu's prediction was off, but they don't believe them. So the gang figures that the only way they'll be persuaded is if Aunt Wu sees it for herself. So they steal Aunt Wu's cloud reading book, get on Appa, and use air and water bending to change the shapes of the clouds. And when they do, Aunt Wu comes out, looks up, and goes, "Holy shit, we're doomed!" So, since they know that they can't stop the eruption, the best they can do is make some trenches outside the town so they can stop the flow of the lava. So they get some of the townspeople and some of their earthbenders to make these trenches. And at first, it does seem to work, but the lava continues to rise, and it seems like it actually will spill into town. But thankfully, Aang steps up and stops it by cooling the lava with airbending, saving the town and all its people. After that, they say their goodbyes to everyone and fly off on Appa to continue on with their journey. So that's the story. So what are my thoughts on this episode? Well, I think the one reason I could think of as to why people don't really, remember or care about the entire episode is that it is a filler episode. If you took this episode out of season 1, you hardly would miss anything. I mean, it doesn't have that many important stuff going on in it. It's basically just like a rest after what happened in the last episode where Katara and Sokka were sick and Aang was captured by the Fire Nation at one point and then broken out by Zuko. But that's another story. Anyway, so what actually makes this episode good in my opinion? Well, the first reason is, it's funny. Unbelievably funny. And all those memes and out-of-context moments you see everywhere, on Google or Twitter or Facebook, everywhere, I can definitely see why there's so many, because this episode spawned so many of them. I mean, it's a really hilarious episode. The funny voice acting, the funny facial expressions, and even the slapstick really makes the comedy work, especially when it revolves around Sokka and his misfortune. I mean, I just love his overreactions. The episode also has some great animation as always, and the climax, while predictable, was still fun. And when Aang stopped all the lava from destroying the town, I thought that was a really badass moment. I mean, he wasn't afraid, there was no second guessing at all, he just went in and did it. And I love it. Now, you may think that I just really like this episode because of the basics, like, comedy, animation, and so on, but there actually are two other elements I really do like in this episode, and one is the morals. Like, there actually are a few in this one, like, that revolve around fortune telling and love, and they really do speak to me. Like, the fortune telling, for instance, like, for many of us, we know that fortune telling is, like, not really, like, that accurate, and it's pretty obvious that Aunt Wu really, like, isn't, like, this big famed fortune teller that everyone thinks she is. But that doesn't take away all the wisdom she can give out either. I mean, like, Aunt Wu is a pretty decent character. I love her design, I love the voice actress, and even if she's not the best fortune teller ever, like, she's not really a true clairvoyance, so to speak, she still is a nice character, and I really do think she gives some great advice, especially to Aang about his love life.
I'll tell you a little secret, young airbender. Just as you reshape those clouds, you have the power to shape your own destiny.
And she can also be pretty funny too. Like, I always love this comeback she gives to Sokka.
Your future is full of struggle and anguish. Most of it self-inflicted.
But you didn't read my palms or anything.
I don't need to. It's written all over your face.
And speaking of decent characters like Aunt Wu, there's also Mang, her assistant. And while she doesn't get as much screen time as Aunt Wu, she still had some pretty decent scenes. And I thought she was a really sweet character. She was cute, she was awkward, and she could be funny as well. But honestly, my favorite moment of her has gotta be near the end when Aang is, like, trying to steal the cloud reading book from Aunt Wu, and Mang catches him. And this is when, like, Mang goes like, you like Katara, don't you? Like, you don't really like me in that way. Like, the same way I like you. And the conversation is actually one of my favorite moments in the episode. And it's one that I relate to so hard, especially with lines like this.
It's okay. It's just really hard when you like someone, but they don't think of you that way. I know what you mean.
Trust me, I've been there. I've had so many crushes like this one. Like, I've had crushes on different blondes and brunettes. I've had crushes with people online. And I even had a couple crushes that I know for sure now they wouldn't work out. How bad were they? Well, I happened to have a crush on a girl whose father is a police officer. And I also had a crush on another girl whose father happened to be the principal of my middle school. Yeah, that wasn't gonna work out. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is really relatable, and this can be relatable not just to me, but to anybody who's had crushes like this. But again, just because you've had these crushes, come up and then they just fail, that doesn't mean you shouldn't just give up entirely. You can meet somebody if you just give yourself a chance. And there's someone out there for everybody, and that's basically what this episode is trying to say. And I really do think it's pretty profound, really relatable, and just a really sweet message. So, yeah, that's one big thing that I really do like in this episode. Now, the second thing that also makes this episode worth it is I think this really is a very important episode for the Katang ship. Now, of course, for some of us, we're like, yeah, we knew this ship was coming from a mile away, but here's the thing. I have a theory that this is really the episode where Katara really started to show some romantic feelings towards Aang. Now, hear me out on this. Now, earlier in the episode, Katara got a fortune from Aunt Wu saying that the person that she's going to marry is a very powerful bender. And Aang eavesdropped on that conversation and pretty much assumed that it was him. So anyway, later on in the episode, right at the climax, when Aang does have his badass moment, Sokka at one point says this.
Man, sometimes I forget what a powerful bender that kid is.
Wait, what did you just say?
Nothing, just that Aang is one powerful bender.
I suppose he is.
And to me, this is probably the moment when Katara's like, wait, is Aang the person that Aunt Wu was talking about? Is he the one that I'm supposed to be marrying? Like, this one shot of her face and just the simple line, I suppose he is, Like, it says a lot in just only a few seconds. Like, there's probably a lot of thoughts going in her mind right now. Like, is Aang really the one? If so, how's it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? Why does it have to happen? You know, all these different questions. And here's also another reason why I think this is when she really started to like Aang in this way. Because in the very next episode, when Aang got Katara her mother's necklace back from Zuko, this was when Katara gave him his first cheek kiss, and then there would be 2 other cheek kisses that followed. Another one in season 2, and then another one in the headband in season 3. So, I'm just saying, like, you could totally disagree with me all you want, but for me, I just think that this is the moment that it was like, yeah, this is really like, yeah, this ship is going to happen. And I'm sure a lot of fans probably felt that way too, and I'm sure even newcomers that have come into the series, they probably thought about that as well. So, yeah, that's just my idea, but that's also one of the other reasons why I really do like this episode. Not just for the comedy, although the comedy really is a big major reason why I love this episode. In fact, this episode is so funny that, you know what? I'm just gonna make a quick top 5 of the funniest moments in this episode, just right off the cuff. Here we go. Here's my top 5.
Should I eat a mango or a papaya for breakfast tomorrow?
Papaya.
Oh, I hate papaya.
My life will be calm and happy and joyful. Ow! That doesn't prove anything. I don't care what Anbu told you. You have to take a bath sometime.
So what's your name? Aang. That rhymes with Mang! And you've got some pretty big ears, don't you?
I guess. Take care, Mang.
Take care! Floozy.
Yeah, and if you guys have no idea what the word floozy means, well... yeah, how this kid show got away with that, I don't know, but I'm so glad that they did. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on the episode. It's funny, it has a couple dramatic moments here and there that I do like. It introduces a couple new characters that, while we don't really see them again after this, they still are decent characters. I do like the messages that this episode gives us. The animation is just as good as always, and it's just another good Avatar episode, even though it is a filler episode, but it's still fun. And so, if I had to give it a final score, I probably would have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, usually episodes like these, I would probably give around like a 7 or an 8, but this one just has a lot more good stuff in it than I expected, so that's why it gets bumped up to an 8.5. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, my name is Sam, and mwah, good night everybody.